Okay, I guess we're going to get started. We have a pretty good sized group, and we also have a good amount of information to go over. So we'll get started, and I'm sure a couple other people will join us as we're going along here. So today we're going to talk about one of the tools that I use and a lot of people use for productivity and organization, and the tool is called OneNote. And basically, OneNote is an application that Microsoft created actually several years back. And unless you have spoke with me or you've seen me using OneNote, more than likely you're probably not even aware of it. OneNote is kind of Microsoft's best kept secret, I guess. So the agenda for today is going to be, we'll talk a little bit about exactly what OneNote is. We'll talk about the basic components for OneNote, and then we're going to go ahead and look at OneNote and actually set up a OneNote notebook. And we'll use that notebook across this webinar series. And then we'll also talk a little bit about the series itself and what sessions will be next and what sessions are coming up. And I also have some other webinars that are going to be designed as series, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And we'll take questions at the end, as well as I'll try to open up a couple times during the session to take questions. It can be tough with a lot of people on the phones, on the audio, because lots of times you get a lot of background noise, but we'll try it. So what OneNote is basically, I create a little screenshot on this slide that gives you a rough idea of what OneNote, at least the toolbar, looks like. As I said before, it's been around for about 10 years or so, and I started using it when it first came out, and I've used it right along, and Microsoft has continually added new features and integration with things, sharing and things like that. It's really an amazing program. A lot of technologies that were designed into OneNote are actually used now in other applications. A lot of Microsoft's Office 365 applications, or at least the underpinning of those applications, the sharing of documents and things. Most of the technologies that are used to do those things were developed basically for OneNote, and it's just expanded. I use it both for business use as well as for personal use, and we'll talk about the various uses of it as we go along here. A couple things about it. First of all, it's multi-platform. So what that means is that you can create a notebook on your PC, and you can access and update the notebook on pretty much any device. You can use, I have an iPad that I use for updating. I also have an Android tablet that I use. I use my Windows phone. My wife has an iPhone. We use that to update our personal stuff. Also, there's a web version of it, so even if you don't have OneNote, the application installed on your computers, you can go to a web browser and actually access OneNote. And if you have your notebooks stored in the cloud, which we'll talk about down the line here, you'll be able to actually access all of your notebooks from basically just the web app. You can collaborate with it, so you can have multiple people editing a notebook at the same time, and you'll see the changes. I do this. Sometimes I'm only one person, but if I'm using multiple computers, if I'm at home and I'm updating a notebook, and then I come into the office and open the notebook, I can actually see the changes I made at home. It gives a little designator and it changes the colors. If my wife makes a change to one of the notebooks, same thing happens. It'll when I open up the notebook, I'll see the changes that she made. Also has some security built in. The security is not great. You'll see, we'll talk about tabs and sections and things. You can put a password on sections within OneNote. And so if you go to open that tab, you'll have to put the password in. A couple things about that. First of all, even though you can use OneNote across all the different platforms, the Apple iOS things like iPad and iPhones, the Androids and things, some of those are not yet able to handle the security features. So if you do password a tab in one of your notebooks, you may not be able to open that tab on some devices. It used to be all of the mobile devices you couldn't open tabs, but in the last 4 or 5 months, Microsoft's actually bringing that to pretty much all of the mobile devices now. But there still are a couple. If you're using a Windows phone, for instance, you can't open up a secure tab. But if you're using an iPad, you can. The other thing about OneNote, which is very interesting, is you used to have to pay for it. And I think it was about a year ago or a year and a half ago, they made a free application. If you buy Office 2013, it's an actual module in there. So along with Word and Excel and PowerPoint and OneNote and Outlook, you also get OneNote now. But even if you don't have Office, you can go to OneNote.com, I believe it is, and download it for free and put it on basically any device that you want. Now, as far as if you're going to try to share notebooks and things, there's things you have to do, but the software is actually free. If you have an Office 365 subscription that includes Office, OneNote's also included in there. So basically for free, you can use this great tool. So some of the basic components within OneNote are basically the way it's designed. The largest container or the biggest thing that you put things in is called a notebook, and we'll look at this in just a second. So the main object with OneNote is a notebook, and you can have multiple notebooks. So you might have a personal notebook and a business notebook, or if you're like me, you have 30 or 40 notebooks. I have a notebook for clients. I have a notebook for obviously personal stuff. I have a notebook for management stuff. Just all kinds of things. Within the notebooks, basically it's designed like when we were in school and you had a notebook, whether it be a spiral bound notebook or a 3-ring binder notebook. The notebook was divided into sections, and you bought the little tabs to put into the notebook, or if you had a spiral bound one, the tabs sometimes came or were built into it. So it's the same thing here. You have the notebook, and then you have the tabs or the sections, and then within each section you have pages, which is where you put your notes. And then underneath the pages, you can have subpages, 2 levels of subpages. So you can have we'll look at some of the examples that I've set up, and actually the notebook we're going to be working with, we'll go ahead and create pages and subpages in it. And then it also has something called templates. So, for instance, if you have a section in your notebook for meetings, there are various templates that you can use, similar to like if you're using Word or Excel and you use one of the built-in templates. For instance, for Word, you could bring up a template for a title page of a document or something. The same thing is true in OneNote. So you can actually, there are templates for meetings, there's personal templates and business type of templates. We'll look at a bunch of those as we go through today also. All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and get right into OneNote. So I'm going to just change the screen here. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to start building a notebook during this session, and we're going to continue to use this notebook throughout the series. So as we add things in here and as we learn new things to use within OneNote, we'll just continually be building on this to give you some ideas of how it works. So as I said, at the top of the screen, you'll see basically the toolbar, and underneath there you'll have the notebook. So the name of this notebook is OneNote Webinar Notebook. I wasn't real creative when I created it. But if I click on this, it actually will show me all the various notebooks that I have available to me. Okay. And if I click on the other notebook, it'll bring up, that particular notebook. So those are the notebooks. And then you have the tabs or the sections. Now, right now, we just have one tab in here. We're going to create a couple more. And then within the tab, within that section, we have the pages. So over here on the right-hand side are where the pages are. So if I want to be very general with this, I'm going to rename this, I'm going to call this tab, I'm going to call this section tasks. And then we're going to create a new page in here. There's already, by default, when you create a section, it puts one page in, and right now it's not titled. If we look on the right-hand side, it says Untitled. So the title of the page goes right where this line is. So we're going to put in a title to the page. Now, what I'm going to do is with this notebook, I'm going to create what's a disaster plan notebook. I've created one for ourselves, and I thought it might be a good example to use to kind of demonstrate some of the things we can do within OneNote. So in this notebook, we're going to have a page called Tasks, and in here, we're going to, what I'm going to use this page for is to create tasks that we need to kind of complete our disaster planning notebook. So maybe we're going to start out with the first thing, which is that we have to create the notebook. And we'll be doing very limited typing, so you don't have to see all my mistakes. So one task might be create a notebook, or create the notebook for this, create the proper sections for the notebook, and then define the contents. Okay. Now, one of the things we can do here is these are basically, in this particular case, these are going to be it's a checklist of things that we need to do. So one of the things I can do here is I can highlight this group of text, and I can click the to-do tag. And what it'll do is it'll put a checkbox on here. And as I finish these things, I can either check them that I finished it or uncheck it if it's not finished. Once I've started the list, it's smart enough to know if I hit another entry here, it just automatically continues to do that, to add the checkbox. So some of the general things, I just wanted to kind of give you a quick idea of what you can do, and then we'll talk a little bit more about these things as we go along. First of all, the text that you put into OneNote is totally free form. So unlike Word, where you're kind of, you start typing at the left and you just type over to the right, then you do paragraphs and things. In OneNote, you create containers as you type, and you can have multiple containers on any given page. and we can move them around. So if I want this to be over here, I can move that over there. You'll see when we work on, or as we build this notebook, and as we look at some of my other notebooks, that can be very useful to be able to put multiple things on the page. So if we're going to add another section, we'd click the plus sign up at the tabs here, and it's going to give me a new section. I can name it. And we're going to create a section called Contacts. And then in this, so now we're in a different page, well, not only a different page, but a different section. So I can move back and forth between these now. And when I'm on the contacts ones, I don't have any pages in there yet. So I'm going to, in here, I'm going to create a page called, we are a team at a system support group. So when I refer to everybody here, I always refer to them as a team. So we're going to have contacts within the team. I'm going to add another page by coming over to the right-hand side and saying Add Page. And we're going to call it Clients, and I'm going to add yet another page, and we're going to call it Vendors. So for part of my disaster plan, I want to be able to have contact information for these three types of contacts. Actually, the other thing I would do, and you'll find when you're creating notebooks, this is like, I guess, for people that are artistic and you draw or you paint or whatever, you have different ways of doing things. It's the same here. So I also, from experience, one of the things I wanted that I realized we need to have in a disaster plan is your insurance information. So I could either put that in as a vendor. What I could do here is, if I right-click on the vendors page, the title of the vendors page, I can say make a new page. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to make this a sub-page. So there's a couple ways of doing this, but one simple way is you just click on the title and you drag. I'm just dragging my mouse to the right a little bit, and you'll see it indented it a little bit. So I'm going to put underneath vendors, I'm going to put a sub-page called Insurance. And maybe I'll put another, so now on that sub-page, if I right-click and push and select New Page, it'll create another, basically a sub-page underneath vendors here. And I'm going to put in here, okay. So I'm going to create another tab, and this one's going to be called Procedures. And so at this point now, I have 3 tabs in the notebook, and I have several pages. Each tab is colored differently. You can change the colors. I can also rearrange the tabs. So if I get 10 tabs across here, and I realize I'd really rather have the procedures one be after the tasks page, I just click the tab itself, and I can drag and drop it to wherever I want it to be. That's the same also for pages. So if I come to this the Contacts tab, where I have all these various pages in here, I can move these around. If I want this client's page to be below the vendor's page, I can move it however I want. So all of the items there are totally rearrangeable however you want to do it. So back to the toolbar. First of all, as you saw, we made checkboxes on these particular items, this checklist. Those are called tags, the checkbox. And there's actually more than just the checkboxes for tags. So on this, on the toolbar at the top here, I have a whole list of various tags I can do. So, and you can combine them. So let's say the Create Sections tab, or let's do this one, to create a list of contacts. I want, that's important to me to make sure we do that. So I can click the star here, and that will automatically light that up. But I can slide down here and pick from a whole list of different tags. When you tag items, not only is it a visual thing so that you can see the check boxes and you can check them on or off. You can see the star. We can also sort by those tags, and we can also search on those tags. So within OneNote, one of the features that you have is an incredible searching capability. So when I go to search for something, I can search for something on an individual page if I wanted, or I can search within the whole notebook, but I can also search across all of my notebooks if I wanted. So if I'm looking for something, a word or something, I'll just put the word in, and we'll go through some search examples later on. But if I can put the word in, and it will search for all the instances of that word from within the notebook that I'm in, or I have a choice of going through all of my notebooks. But in addition to just doing words, it allows me to search on these tags as well. So if I had a bunch of notebooks and I had a bunch of items that I had starred as important, and now I wanted to see what are all the important items, I can search on the tag with the star, and it will actually bring up all of those items. So there's a whole list, and in addition to the list that's up here, you can remove them if you don't like them, but you can also add tags. So you can click on Customize Tags here, and from here you can add and remove. I can create a new tag if I want. So if I wanted to create a tag called Personal Items, once you name it, you can then pick some type of a symbol. I can do a font color. We'll just do red to highlight. And we can actually do a highlight also, so we'll do this little yellow highlight. So now, if I take an item, and if I can find where I put it, right here. It automatically adds all of the items that the formatting that I use for that particular tag. So again, if some of the use of this, at least for what I do, is if you're in a meeting or you're just sitting down brainstorming or something and you're writing out notes, you can highlight these notes and make them be active. When let's say you're in a meeting and you're putting all your notes down from the meeting, there's a lot of stuff there that you write down in a lot of cases. So when you come back, if you have these things highlighted, if you have to-dos, when I'm doing for those of you that we do the quarterly business meetings, as we do the meeting, part of what I do with my OneNote notebook is I have a section for tasks that are generated out of that meeting. And from within there, I write down the tasks that we talk about while we're there, and I put to-dos on all of them, and that when I come back and I'm reviewing the notes on the meeting, I know what I have to do from that meeting, and as I complete one or whatever, I just click it off. So that's what you can do with tags. And again, tags can be very useful. They can be very simple from the standpoint you can just make a list. I use the to-do tag constantly. I actually use OneNote to do a grocery shopping list, and I use those when we pick up the item that we're looking to buy. I'll check it off. We use it not only for grocery shopping, but I have a page in one of my, I have a section in one of my notebooks which is I think I call it shopping, and underneath that section I have pages for the various stores that we go to. So I have a page for Home Depot, a page for the like Price Shopper or whatever the shopping store might be, a page for BJ's when we go there. And so what I do with that is on each of those pages, so if I think of something that I need at Home Depot, I actually, from my phone or wherever, I just open up that notebook, go to the page for Home Depot, and I add the item on there. And that way when I'm at Home Depot, I usually have my phone with me, and I can just open it up, and I can find all the things that I need while I'm at Home Depot. It actually works very well when you remember to put the items in there. So that's probably the most used one is the to-do list, but there's a bunch. You can also do it. They give you some examples in here. If you're working on multiple projects, you could have items that are tagged as project A, B, C, whatever what you want to do. If you're writing down some notes, or if you're doing some research and you find a book that you want to read, you can tag it with book to read. So there's a whole bunch here. If you're trying to find your items that are tagged, let's go to the contacts area over here, and I'm going to put and in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do, I'll just flag it as important. And I'm going to go back to this first page. So we have one item underneath our task that we had marked as important with the star here, and then we had created one under contacts. So I clicked on the Find Tags button. It opens up an item on the right-hand side. It opens up basically a bar. And we look for the tag name. And so I clicked on Create a List of Contacts. That's the tag name that I'm looking for. And right now it's searching. Oh, this is actually the to-do section of this particular book. Now, at the bottom down here, what it's doing is it's searching this notebook right now. So if I select here, I can narrow or expand my search. So I'm looking at this notebook. I can look at this page. This is a page group, I should say. This section, all notebooks, today's notes, yesterday's notes. You can do all kinds of things with narrowing in on the item. All right, so that's how you can search by tags. Tags can be very useful. I use them quite a bit. One of the other things you can do is you can format. You can do some formatting of text just like you can in Word. So I'm just going to move this out of the way and put down so I'm going to more or less put a section in here, or some more text, and underneath here, so I'm going to basically have list of things to do, and technically this is our list of things to do. So if I want to highlight that, make this a kind of a paragraph title, I can highlight the text, and I can do all the normal things. I can change the font, I can change the size, make it boldface, change the color, etc. Just like pretty much you can do this in Word or Excel. It's not really any different. Some of the other things you can do, though, and again, you can do this in Word as well, is you can use what's called headings, and that's this section right here. Okay, and the purpose of headings are a couple things. So I'm going to select heading 1 here, and that changes the formatting of that text to what's already been predefined as heading 1. Maybe under here I'm going to put So this is a further breakdown of things to do, and these are kind of a secondary list of things to do. So I'm going to make that heading 2. All right, so you'll see that it changes the colors and things. Now, what you can do, though, it's one thing to just format the text. That's kind of can be useful. It's a quick way to format it, so you don't have to go through and pick all of these things. It just will automatically, and quickly do it. But the other thing is you can create tables of contents. Well, we're not going to get into that today. But just like in Word, you can create tables of contents, and it will actually use these headings to create the table of contents. So there's more use to these than just the quick formatting. You can actually view this in a basically a table of contents view. Not the one I wanted to show. Not finding what I'm looking for at the moment, but we'll go through. I have a section on table of contents. We'll go through it. But so we can view this in different ways, and one of the ways is the table of contents view, where you'd only see the table of contents, and then you would click on it, and it'll open it up, etc. But when I went through here, I did want to show you something. You can also go to full page view. This can be useful if you're using a tablet. If you go to full page view, it gets everything else out of the way, and you can just type. So if you're trying to brainstorm, instead of having all the toolbars in the way and all of the other stuff, you can go to full page view, and you can just go ahead and work. Okay. Now, one of the things, so basically we have containers. I call them containers to put text in, and I like that word because, as you can see, I can move these around, and containers can be different things. So we're just right now working with text, all right? But we can do other things. So we can embed, we can put audio in here, we can put video in here. We can actually, and I'm going to do some demonstrations of doing video and audio and all of that in subsequent webinars. We don't have time to get into all that today, but I am going to actually do that. We'll go through putting video in. But you can also put information from from the internet on here. So if we were going to if we're doing a little bit of research, we're going to create another section here called research. And if I go into something on the internet, I'm going to search on disaster plans. And I'll just pick one. So what I could do here is on this web page, first of all, I could obviously cut the or make a copy of the URL itself, and I could drop that in and have that available, and it actually makes it a URL. So I could, I might put above here sites to review, something like that. And now I'm just going through and I can cut and paste the sites if I want. But the other thing I could do is I can actually take and highlight some text out of this web page. And this could be text, or it could be a photo or an image or something. I can copy this and go back to OneNote here and put this in. So I cut and pasted from the actual website, and here's the text that I've cut. But in addition to putting the text there, it actually puts a link to where it came from on here as well. So this is one of the things that I use. I have in our personal notebook, we have a section for vacations. And Gail and I will go through, and we finally decide we're going to take a vacation somewhere. We'll start looking around at things, and you'll see you're trying to find a place to go, so you do a little research on different places, then maybe you found the place, now you're going to do some research on flights and things like that, hotels, whatever it might be. I go to all those various sites and I put all of the information into the page, so that later on I can come back, and if I wanted to check to see, maybe I found 2 or 3 hotels that I'm interested in, I want to go back and review them before I finally decide which one I'm going to stay at. I just go back in here and click the link, and it will bring you right back to that particular page, and I have all the information that I would need there. So you can not only put text and audio and video in here, but you can also put graphics, obviously. So if we go back to the web again here, and I don't know, we'll just pick this. We'll copy that, and we're going to go back into OneNote here and drop the image in here. So it went ahead and put the image right in here, and again, this is a link, so if I click the image, it'll take me back to the page, etc. So you can not only put text, but all of these other items. And the neat thing, as I was saying, is this stuff is all movable. So maybe I want this, I look at this and say, you know what, this should actually be on my procedures page. So I can come in here, I can do cut, come over to the procedures page and paste, and it moves it to there. I could have also made a copy. So maybe I want this in another notebook in addition to here, or I want it on another page in addition to here. I could right-click on it and do copy in this case, and I can actually go to another notebook and paste it. And you see it pastes it wherever I put the cursor. So I can, it's totally free form of how you do this. Now maybe I put this in here and I want to add some things around it. So I put some text in there. Maybe I want it to stand out a little bit. Now, one of the things, this is also true of anything in Office 2013. When you hover above or you type some text in, instead of having to go all the way back to the top of the screen, I can change things right here. So I can boldface it. I can change the font color. So that's nothing really to do with OneNote per se. This is something that they use all across all of the Office 2013 products. As soon as you highlight some text, the little menu will pop up right where you're working. So it's just less movement of my wrist. It saves some calories, I guess. So we're going to go back to our webinar notebook. All right, so what we've done so far is we've created a new notebook. We've created some sections within the notebook, and then within those sections we've created some pages. We found that we can move actually I guess I thought I renamed that, but we found we can move the tabs around to our liking. We can also password, as I was saying before, we can password protect a section. So if we do that, it's going to ask us for a password, and then anytime we click on that section, before we can open up anything in there, we have to put the password in. It works very well. The only thing is you just have to be careful, because if you are using mobile devices, some of the mobile devices are not able to open password sections just yet. We can change the color of the section. So if I'd rather have that color, I can change that there. You can rename sections if you don't like what you've named it, or like where I did, I screwed up and somehow didn't get the name in there. I can just rename it. You can also create section groups. So we'll talk about this more later on too. But what section groups do is you'll find, and I have this on some of my notebooks, where you just have 50 sections and it's hard to get around. You have to keep sliding back and forth. What you can do in that case is you can combine tabs or sections into a section group. That'll shrink it down. Then once you click on that section group, it opens up, it'll display the tabs that you have within that group, and then you can work within there. So some of the other, so not only can we do things if we right-click on the sections, but we can also do things on documents. So if we right-click on the page, I should say, we can rename the page. We can delete it, we can cut it, copy it, paste it, all the normal stuff. We can create a link to the page. So maybe I want this page, I don't want to have to copy this page either to another section or to another notebook. I just want to create a link. So I just clicked on create link, and now I paste the link. So now if I click this link, it takes me right there. So again, what I just did was just across a couple of pages here, but that link can work across notebooks. So instead of copying a page into another page, or to another section, if I wanted all that stuff to be in there, I can just put the link in there, and then it will find it. I can move or copy pages. So as I said, I could. In this particular case, if I wanted to copy this page into another notebook or into another section in this notebook, I would just click copy or move or copy, and it brings up a dialog and it asks me where do I want to move it, and it actually shows me the notebooks I have. So I could pick a notebook, and then I can pick a particular section within that notebook, and if I click copy, it'll copy this page into that section of the notebook. If I click move, it'll take it from this notebook and put it into the second notebook. I'm not gonna do either one for the moment here. I can, as we saw before, I can create a new page here. If there was more than one page, I can make things sub-pages, or if they are sub-pages and I want to make them an actual page, I can promote it. I can mark it as unread. This has to do with multiple, either editing on multiple devices or multiple people editing the same document. But you'll see when you're and I'm going to demo this later on in one of the other sessions. But you'll see when somebody else modifies it, there'll be a little indicator on the side of the container that they modified, and it will highlight the tab of that page will be highlighted to tell you that something has changed on that page from the last, or in the section since the last time you were in there, and that's what the unread indicator does. So I made this unread, and I don't know if you can see it across the wire there, but this is now bold-faced. This tab is bold-faced. If I mark it as read, it's back to normal. Now, you don't have to manually do that. When you go into the second notebook, and so if somebody made a change and you go in and you look at it, once you've gotten through and you've gotten out of the notebook, it knows that you've read it, and it will unhighlight it. Some of the other things, and we'll get into these a little more down the line, but this is, OneNote is integrated with all of the Office products, which means that I can do simple things, like I can cut text from a Word document and put it in here, or I can cut text from an Excel spreadsheet and put it in here. Those are kind of basic things. But in addition to that, I can actually put whole Word documents in here. I can put whole Word spreadsheets, and I will show you those things. And when you put an Excel spreadsheet in here, it's actually a live spreadsheet. So you're able to, do calculations and all of that stuff. You can also, if you're familiar with using Word and you've used tables in Word, you can insert tables into OneNote as well. So let me just get to an area here. Insert a table. You figure out how many columns and how many rows you want. You can adjust this after the fact. But so now it's created a table. And then I can just put I'm not very real creative, so. So you can just, fill in a table here. And then when you do tables, you can format the tables and do some kind of interesting things with it. You can do shading. You can convert it to an Excel spreadsheet. So you could, for those that use Word reasonably well, you can already do, you could do tables in Word before. It's the same type of thing. I think you can do a little bit more with the tables in Word than you can in OneNote, but not drastically. So maybe I want to boldface these headings. I want to center them. And I don't know, we'll make a nice blue color. So so that's where tables. And again, you can take this and say, oh, this is really on the wrong page. I can just cut it out, go to the procedures page, and drop it in here. You could also take and drop it into a Word document as well. So as I was saying, there's interface. It connects to the Office products all over the place. You could put whole PowerPoint presentations in here. Where we were, and again, I'm going to demo some of this later on, but where we created these to-dos, if we highlight those and we click at the top here where it says Outlook tasks, if you're an Outlook user and you use tasks in Outlook, this will actually create a task in Outlook. And if you check it off here, it'll complete it in Outlook, or if you complete it in Outlook, it'll check it off here. So it's integrated between there. The last thing I'll show you for today's session is that you can, these pages and these notebooks can be printed out or emailed or shared. We're not going to get into sharing today, but if I wanted to email a particular page, I just highlight the page, I click on email, and it will open up my Outlook, which I don't have opened up on this machine, and it'll ask me who do I want to email this to, just like any other message. And this page will get emailed out with all the formatting that you have on here. The recipient will get the email with this particular, in this case, this particular page. But we could also print the page. So if I go up here to my print preview, it actually shows what it's going to look like. I select print. I pick my printer, and again, I'm not going to do that, but it'll print the pages again with all of the formatting. So if we grab this one here that had the which one? Oh, with the graphic, that would all print as well as being emailed. The links would go; they would go as links. So there's a whole. OneNote is connected to pretty much all of the Office applications in several different ways. We're going to look at that more in a subsequent webinar. The other thing we can do, and we're not going to get into this today, but as I was saying, we can insert spreadsheets, we can insert whole files. So if I had a PDF file and I wanted to keep it in here, I could insert that in here and it would just stay with the page. Screen clippings, we'll talk about that later. Pictures, here's where we can record audio and video. We're going to do that. We can insert the date and the time. This is what I was talking about where there's a section in one of the other webinars. We're going to talk more about templates. We can also do mathematical stuff. I probably am not going to demo this because I'm not a mathematician, but I may find something we can do to demo it with. But the other thing is, if you're using a tablet and the tablet has the ability to use a pen, you can actually draw. Now, you can do it with a mouse as well. And this is one of those cases where creativity can be useful. But you can there's a whole bunch of tools here that you can use to do drawing within the pages. So you can do it on a regular computer, but this is very useful if you're using a tablet that has a pen. You can also, if you can handwrite, and I'm going to try to figure a way to demo this online. It's a little, I have to figure out how I'm going to do it. But what you can do is, if you're using a tablet, you can handwrite your notes, and if they're handwritten, you then take the lasso select tool. You basically highlight your handwritten notes, and a button will come up to be convert to text, and it will convert your handwriting to text. It actually works pretty good. My handwriting is let's just say a little poor, and it does understand it pretty well. I've been really pretty happy with that. There's also history. This has to do with keeping multiple versions of the pages. So if you screw something up, you can go back and get it from a previous page. There's some review functions. This really has to do with if you're using multiple people doing stuff. So I'm going to, that's the extent of what I was going to show. Let me just switch back here. I'm going to open it up for questions in just a minute here. So the webinar series, the OneNote webinar series, today is the basics. February 26th, which is a Thursday, invites will go back out, but is going to be business applications. And with this, I'm going to show several of my own notebooks as well as some others, and how basically examples of how you can use this. Also, the next one will be personal applications. Same thing. I'll show some of my personal notebooks and some others, and then we'll do some things with office integration and then also collaboration, multiple people working on the same notebook, etc. And those last three dates, I'll publish the dates. My plan right now is to do one session a month on this because as you saw, we're going to do some more. And as far as the other webinar series that I have coming up, we're going to do Office 365. That'll start, I believe, I'm going to start that in February. A little bit depends on Microsoft and some of the changes that they're making in Office 365, but we'll be starting that one pretty soon. Windows 10 and Office 2016 are the new versions of each of those that will be coming out toward the end of the year, second half of the year. Windows 10 is the new version of Windows that is actually pretty cool. We're using it now, and we'll start doing sessions on this probably around the middle of the year. Office 2016 is the next version. Right now, Office 2013 is the current version of Office. There's the next version is going to be called 2016, and it'll come out again the second half, probably the fourth quarter of the year is my best guess at the moment. There's also there's actually going to be two versions of Office put out at this point. Office 2016 will be for those that are using standard workstations type of devices, although it will work on tablets also. But it really is just the upgraded version of 2013 with some touch built in. Office Universal is the new platform for Office. It's designed specifically around touch and around tablet and other touch devices. And the design of it is such that Word, Excel, etc. look exactly the same across any device that you use, whether it's a phone, a tablet, a regular workstation, or an 84-inch monitor, which actually there's some pretty cool stuff coming out in that area as well. And I have some more webinars coming as well, mostly business-related things, and you'll hear more about those shortly. All right, so we're gonna try this. I'm gonna unmute everybody. This could get a little hairy, but if we could just kind of everybody pay attention a little bit. If somebody has a question to ask, I'll try to answer them. So I'm going to unmute right now. All right. So does anybody have any questions on what we went through? We went through a lot in a short amount of time. So. I see Art is on there. Art, do you have any questions? If you're still on.
I'm on. I can't think of any questions that I have right now.
Okay. Dean, do you have anything? Actually, I see Dean doesn't have a microphone. How about Diane?
I'm good, Ed. Thank you.
Thanks. Eric?
I'm good too, Ed.
Looks like Incy and Jennifer I don't see and Judy, no. We got to get microphones set up for some of the people. Mike, Mike, are you on there? No, you have no questions. Okay. Okay, then we'll leave it at that. I appreciate everybody connecting in today. I will be sending an invite out for the February one, probably around the middle of the month. And for February, what we're going to do is we're going to continue. I'm going to show several different business notebooks so you can get a feel for what OneNote can do and how it can look in different contexts. And we'll also, I have several samples that I've pulled down over the years that kind of I thought were good examples of what can be done with it. So I'll show several of those, and we're going to continue. I'm going to clean up the disaster planning notebook that turned into a little bit of a disaster. But I'm going to clean that up, and we're going to continue working on that so you can see how we can build a OneNote notebook out of similar to what you'll be seeing in the examples. So I appreciate everybody taking a little bit of time today to take a look at this. Hopefully you got at least a general idea of what OneNote is. It's a great product. I can't speak highly enough about it. It's very powerful what it can do. I think if you take a look at it, it does take a little getting used to. You have to poke around with it, but it really isn't that hard to learn. It's very intuitive, and once you get started with it, you find that at least for myself, I find all different types of ways to use it. Probably too many ways, because you end up with too many notebooks. So with that, have a great day, and thanks again.